guys? How we doing? Welcome back. Welcome back. I appreciate the likes, the shares, the comments. Like I said, we're gonna get into it this season. The first season, I just wanted to introduce myself and kind of let you in on a few things I cared about and those topics we're gonna dive into. Like I said, today we're gonna dive into consumers' energy. I thought I was pissed off before, but now I'm really pissed off. So we'll just get right into it, okay? Consumers Energy. I was under the impression this was a public style company that did a public service for us because it's a publicly traded utility company. So you would assume utilities, you would seem to think that utilities would be somewhat regulated. I mean, I guess they are regulated, but we know how the government regulates things. So we'll just start right at the top. I'm going to look down because I got my notes written, so just ignore that. But anyways, we'll just start right with the CEO. His name's Garrett Richow, I think. I don't know how the fuck you say it. Anyways, his salary is $10.401 million. So it's $10,401,148 is his salary. Now, it's actually like 1.25 million plus stocks and shares and incentives. He gets kickbacks the better the company does. Necessarily, I get it, but I still think that's kind of extreme amount of money for a public resource company that was given a monopoly essentially on energy so that the government could regulate it and so that they could keep things down to a minimum when it comes to outages or big problems that we face with infrastructure, electrical infrastructure anyways. They haven't really done that good a job on it. And if you look at the recent rate increases that were supposed to help with that, that also hasn't really helped either. So let's see here. The breakdown of his salary, I'll just give it to you, is his base salary is actually 1.2 million to 1.25 million. The rest comes from stock awards and performance-based bonuses. This compensation is roughly 70 times the pay of their median employee. While Michigan residents struggle with rising rates, the executive suite is tied directly to the stock price. If the company makes more profit for shareholders, the CEO gets a bigger performance bonus. Makes sense. Now, we'll call this the $8.2 billion revenue machine. The $8.2 billion likely refers to the operating revenue. Consumers Energy alone reported $8.1 billion in revenue, contributing the lion's share to CMS Energy's total $8.5 billion. Where the money goes. They aren't just printing it to keep it. Much of it goes towards fuel costs and infrastructure profits. Here's the thing. They have a guaranteed profit, which is a grotesque business model. Michigan utilities are regulated monopolies. They don't make a profit on the energy they sell to you because that's a pass-through cost. Instead, they get a guaranteed rate of return, usually around 9 to 10% for every dollar they spend on capital investments, like new power plants or grid upgrades. The incentives. This creates an actually bizarre incentive because the more they spend on big expensive products, the more profit they're legally allowed to get from your bill. Let me say that again. The more they spend on expensive projects, the more profit they are legally allowed to collect from your monthly bill. That infuriates me. Because they can say that they're building things and say that they're doing things, and it shows up on paper but never really shows up in reality, if that makes sense. Okay? Now, for me, I always thought this was a public service. However, apparently, it's not. Not in the way I was hoping anyways. See, the origin was Consumers Energy was founded in 1886 by William A. Foote. He wasn't a public servant, he was a businessman who saw an opportunity to use water wheels from his lumber mills to generate electricity. In the early 1900s, the local electric companies were consolidated into massive holding companies. They were always private They are always private for-profit entities. Now, to prevent total chaos, multiple sets of power lines, multiple things everywhere, and all these little small companies popping up, the government struck a deal with the utility company. They get a monopoly. No competition. So it's the only company we can go through. We can't just outsource electricity unless we're going to make our own. And in exchange, the government regulates their rates. The government regulates their rates. We already know what that means. There's going to be some kind of lobby pushing for them to be able to pass these bills or pass these rate hikes or anything like that. We'll get into that in a little bit. Here's the fun part. The friction we're feeling comes from the clash of missions. Consumers Energy has a service mission for the people of Michigan, but a fiduciary mission for its owners. Massive investment firms like, you guessed it, Vanguard and BlackRock. When the grid fails during a Michigan ice storm, the public goods side of the business has failed. But if the company still hits its $1 billion profit target, which it did in 24 and 25, the corporate side always succeeds. Imagine. They always win, we always lose. While we pay our bill, the company has paid out over $1.5 billion in dividends to shareholders recently. Essentially, the public is funding the wealth of the investor class through a service they cannot opt out of. Let me say it again. While you pay your bill, the company has paid out over $1.5 billion in dividends to shareholders. Essentially, the public, you and I, is funding the wealth of the investor class through a service they cannot opt out of. So, the financial machinery of Consumers Energy operates on a loop. They request higher rates from the public to fund massive infrastructure, which in turn guarantees higher profits for shareholders and multi-million-dollar bonuses for executives. Here's some specific facts regarding the recent financial maneuvers of the grotesque disparity between executive wealth and public burden. We've had a rate hike surge in the last 12 months. Consumers Energy has aggressively pushed for some of the largest rate increases in history. This is why our electric bill is so fucking expensive now, okay? In March of 2025, the amount requested was a 5.6% increase, which is a $325 million upgrade to what they are already getting. Approved was $153.8 million, okay? Then they come back in June and say, we need more. $436 million was the request, a 13.3% increase in all of our bills, mine and yours included. Hasn't been approved yet. Came back in October of 25, saying they need $217 million of upgrade. That's 8.1% increase. So just so we're keeping track, right now we're at a guaranteed 13%, and they tried to increase it another 13%. So 26% just in 1 year. Actually, two of those were in 1 year. The 8.1% increase is gas. So we're looking at roughly about 18% so far, okay? Now, our Michigan Attorney General, Dana Nessel, did call it a slap in the face to Michigan families, okay? For an average household, the October gas hike alone added roughly $77. Combined with electric hikes, many residents are seeing triple-digit annual increases. Triple-digit annual increases, okay? Now, the business model here is called return of equity, okay? The 9.8 guarantee, when the state approves a rate hike, they also approve a profit margin. For a recent gas hike, the state guaranteed consumers a 9.8% on their investment. The disconnect. While the company is guaranteed a near 10% profit, the National Energy Assistant Directors Association reported that utility shutoffs were at nearly 4 million households nationwide due to the inability to pay. So we have 4 million households that can't afford their bill on a normal basis, and instead of working to lower those prices and make it affordable, we just shut it off. So yeah, instead of making it affordable, we're just gonna shut shit off apparently when we don't have money. I guess it's a lot like banks that charge us overdraft fees when we're being charged an overdraft fee because we didn't have enough money in the bank to cover something in the first fucking place. But they let it go through and then they charge you $35 and then the other part charges you $35 and you know, that's the banks. We'll get into that this season too. But anyways, so how do we get here? Okay? We talked about lobbyists and who allows rules like this to go through. So let's just see where the money comes from, all right? To ensure these rate hikes keep getting approved, Consumers Energy spends heavily to influence the very people meant to regulate them. Wow, there's a big surprise in America, huh? Lobbying spent in 2024 was over $1 million directly in Michigan alone. Now, there's a dark money machine. Consumers Energy has funneled over $43 million into a nonprofit called Citizens for Energizing Michigan's Economy because it is a 501c, a 501c4. It doesn't have to disclose all its donors, but it's run by utility insiders and used to fund the campaigns of utility-friendly politicians. As of late 2025, analysis shows that 82% of current Michigan state legislators have accepted money from utility affiliated PACs. 82%. And we wonder why they went back to state Congress twice to increase our rates. Okay? While customers are told that rate hikes are necessary for reliability, the money often flows outward towards Wall Street. Big fucking surprise, huh? In late 2025 and early 26, the company continued its streak of declaring quarterly dividends, roughly 1.125 per share for preferred stock. Now, every dollar paid out in dividends to a billionaire investor at BlackRock or Vanguard is a dollar that was collected from a Michigan residents' utility bill, not spent on actually fixing power lines. Let me say it again. Every dollar paid out in dividends to a billionaire investor at BlackRock or Vanguard is a dollar that was collected from a Michigan resident's utility bill, but not spent on actually fixing power lines. Okay? So, in the end, the public good is the mask. The guaranteed 10% return is the reality. The company uses a state-sanctioned monopoly to extract wealth from captive customers and then uses a portion of that wealth to lobby the state to allow them to extract even more. So, let's check our reliability. We're spending a lot of money, so what's our reliability? Let's check the stats, okay? While Consumers Energy reports improvements, independent data from Citizens Utility Board of Michigan and the U.S. Energy Information Administration ranked 50th out of 50. Michigan utilities were ranked dead last for the time it takes to restore power and total outage duration. 12 hours versus 5 hours. In 2023 and 2024, it took Michigan utilities an average of 12 hours to restore power after an average of 12 hours to restore power after an outage. In neighboring Indiana and Ohio, it takes less than 5. Consumers Energy often excludes major event days from their marketing data to make their numbers look better. When you include those storms, Michigan's outage duration is 7 times higher than on normal days. Okay? So, like I said, this just pissed me off even more when I was getting into it. So the ask. They requested over $400 million in new rate hikes in June alone. The argument. They claim that it needs to keep trimming and iron poles to keep lights on. The counterfact. While they ask for hundreds of millions from residents, they are simultaneously paying out $1.5 billion in dividends to shareholders. The Attorney General, Dana Nassau, pointed out the company asks for a new rate hike roughly every 12 months, meaning they are asking for more money before the public can even see if the last hike fixed anything. Now, here we have amazingly terrible math bonuses for failure. Okay. So, in recent filings, it was revealed that top executives at Michigan Utilities received performance bonuses even when the company's reliability metrics were well below the national average. The penalty versus their profit. The state recently implemented a penalty system where consumers might have to pay $10 million if they fail to meet reliability goals. So, let's give you some context on that. A $10 million penalty for a company that just grossed in $8.2 billion in revenue is the equivalent of a $50 speeding ticket for somebody making $400,000 a year. It's just the cost of doing business, right? We know how many of those we have. So let's do the customer versus the investor wealth. Captive customers versus investor wealth, all right? Because Consumers Energy is a regulated monopoly, you cannot switch to a competitor if your power goes out for 3 days. As mentioned, the state guarantees them nearly 10% profit on capital projects. The cycle. They build something expensive, you pay it. You pay for it via rate hike. They get a 10% profit. The CEO gets a bonus because the stock went up. The grid still fails during an ice storm because the maintenance, tree trimming isn't as profitable as new construction. So, here we go. The metric. Outage duration improving by 21 minutes. Michigan ranks 50th of 51st in the nation. Okay. Rate hikes necessary for the grid, requested $436 million just months after a $154 million hike. Executive pay based on performance, CEO makes $10 million plus while reliability lags every single neighbor we have. Okay. Shareholder payouts, quote, sign of a healthy company. $1.5 billion in dividends while residents face record shutoffs. Okay. So this is an energy company that we don't have a choice but to deal with, you know? And it's stuff like this that really makes you wonder, like, how it even works. How did this even become a fucking thing, you know? These people have been running our country for decades. Almost, I mean, what are we at? 250 years now in America. This is since 1776. We're at 250 years is our birthday this year. And maybe for our celebration, we as Americans should just wake the fuck up and stop being so goddamn stupid and letting these politicians and these Washington insiders control every aspect of our daily lives. Maybe we should wake up and read a fucking book. Maybe we should wake up and realize that what you're taught in school is completely false and that the people in charge of this country are here to suck the wealth and the labor out of all of us. We work our asses off. We want to keep our kids in homes. We want to keep them going to school. Schools that are taught bullshit anyways. I'm homeschooling my youngest kids because I'm not sending any more kids into the public school system. My kids that are already there, they're more than welcome to jump out of school anytime they fucking want and they can learn at home. But they're comfortable with the social programming and everything else they get out of school, you know, friends, what benefits those friends have, because we all know what kind of fucking parents we have in the world. So most of them don't even want their kids. Most parents act like their kids are fucking inconvenient, you know, and maybe they act like that because they're stressed out over bills or they're stressed out over life or they hate their fucking job. And in the end, they end up taking it out on their kids. I do my best not to take it out on my kids. Anybody who knows me knows that my kids are with me almost 24 hours a fucking day. Whether I'm at work or at home, it doesn't matter. Okay. Is it stressful? Absolutely. You know, is it easy? No. Is it fun? Not always. But it's memorable, you know, and it's admirable to me because the only thing I ever really wanted from my dad was more time. And he was just busy working to provide a life for us. So I understood that he didn't always have that time. So for me, I'd have a job where I'm fortunate and my kids can be with me. So, you know, and it's me telling my kids every day that this is their life and this is their future. And that they have to wake up and realize that it's going to be on them to fix this. Because the people right now are entirely too stupid. Okay? They didn't have the proper information. And the generation before us, like I said, they were just trained to believe that the government's going to do what's best for you always. And that's just the case. We know that's not the case now, as we're at war in Iran for a foreign country. Okay? You know, we're going to stick to consumers' energy right now, though. You know, this is our utilities. This is something we pay for. And consumers' energy also is an arm of DTE. So the gas and electric come from the same fucking thing. The same investors that invest in consumers' energy are thoroughly invested into DTE, and those are monopolistic companies. They were given monopolies on our energy in Michigan because it's supposed to be regulated. But as every other fucking regulation arm in America, it's bought and paid for by some special interest or some lobbying group that's funneling millions of dollars into these politicians' pockets. Okay? We need to get the money out of politics. That's what we need to do. With the internet the way it is, okay? Everybody should be, like, it should be all public funding at this point. Completely public funding. Not a single dollar should come from private interest. Okay? Politicians should get equal time on every channel, every radio, everything. Every social platform. It doesn't matter. Okay? We should have equal everything so that people can make the right choice. But we're not given information to make the right choices at all, ever. Whether it's religion, where they take out fucking books of the Bible before they give it to you, you know, or it's education, where they filter what it is you learn, or it's why we're at war, which is a bullshit fucking reason most of the time anyways, because if we look at why we're at war, we go to war with every country that doesn't have a nationalized banking system. Big fucking surprise when the Rothschilds and the Rockefellers are the ones who run shit. Okay? We can see that with the way Rothschilds purchased Israel in 1918 during the Balfour Declaration, and then 40 years, 30 years later, we give Israel a state, and then they go to Palestine and start cleaning out millions of people by funding Hamas, so that way there was a divide. Like I said, we're going to get into that. I veer off. I digress. Right now, it's about Michigan, and it's about us. The people in Michigan who are suffering every single fucking month that bill comes. And it's higher than it was last month. And it's higher than it was last year. Because that's all it is. It's always fucking higher. It's always more goddamn money. And we're not making any more money. We're not getting any more money. We're not getting anything in return. We're not getting better power. We're not getting breaks on power. We're not, like, the price doesn't fucking go down. It only continuously goes up. It never goes down. It's never gone down since it's been fucking going up. Now in the wintertime, they're looking like summertime bills 2 years ago. And summertime bills are fucking insane. Shit's almost $400 or $500 if you're using fucking air conditioning or central air. A month. A fucking month. For 5 months out of the year. That's $2,000 out of somebody's yearly fucking income. That's terrible. That's a fucking mortgage payment for months, for at least 2 months in some places. In some cases, it's 3 or 4. So, you know, we just need to wake up, people. We do. You know, I thought Consumers Energy was a public company. Apparently it's not. It's fucking private like everything else. A private fucking entity that sucks the fucking teat of the public like everything else. And I just wanted you guys aware of how the system kind of works. The next episode, I'm going to come back, and it's still going to be about Consumers Energy, but I want to know how they get this energy. I want to know where it comes from. I want to know what machines they use. I want to know how they distribute it. I want to know all of it, since they got to use so much money to funnel this energy that they're getting from Earth, I'm assuming, because they're not creating energy, so they're getting it from the earth somehow. So that's what I want to figure out. I'm sure it's probably oil or gas or some fucking coal burning system shit. We're gonna figure that out, because I don't personally know the detailed version, but we're gonna get the detailed version. So I appreciate you guys stopping in. The intro to Consumers Energy, we got the financial part out of the way, and next we're gonna do the mechanical part. We're gonna see how the whole system works from the top down, from the very fucking dirt that they dig out of the ground, where they're at, and how they get it to turn into lights at my fucking house, and see if it's worth $8.4 billion a year, huh? So I appreciate you guys. Thank you for your time. Thanks for tuning in. I hope that, this shares information with somebody, sparks something, or just wakes us up and realizes that we're fucked unless we do something. I appreciate you guys. Like, share, comment, get back with me. I'm open for debates. I'm open for inputs on anything. Just let me know. If there's a topic you guys want to know something about, let me know. I'm down to look into anything. I appreciate you. I love you. We'll see you next time.